A viewer asked, how do you make such compelling NPCs? When all else fails, just steal ideas from Dilbert, or Venture Brothers. That's outrageous! All non-player characters fall somewhere along a spectrum of detail level and characterizations. On one end are characters who deserve their own novel or television series, while on the other end are cardboard cutouts whose dialogue gets delivered in the third person, like, he doesn't know anything that will help you. Obviously, the latter doesn't make your world feel alive and exciting, but the former isn't really the objective either. You don't want to spend too much time and energy trying to outshine the real protagonists, your player characters. The ingredients to an NPC who really shines are really just a little bit of inspiration and spending some amount of time fleshing them out. How much time you spend on a moderate to important one or a recurring villain really varies. But it's relatively minor NPCs who are easiest to gloss over, and yet concentrating too much time on them is a great way to get behind in your planning, or just waste your valuable free time. The fact is, if you could afford to spend an entire year on one adventure, just 2 to 3 game nights worth, you could easily polish every shopkeeper or city guard into a colorful and fascinating character. But when you go to actually play it, you'll find that most of them get skipped over as the party tries to advance the plot. I can suggest a few shortcuts that you might find helpful for making quick minor NPCs. First, as most GMs will tell you, make a list of names in advance, so that if players ask the name of some unnamed character, or if you have to make up an individual on the fly to fill an unexpected role in a story, you aren't left scrambling. Some people like their list broken down by nationality or fantasy race names, others just have a handful for whatever. Just make sure you have at least a few names of each gender, and leave space, or use a text file, so whenever you use a name from the list, you can note down next to it who you used it for. Shady contact in Brixton, guard they talked to outside the Duke's chambers, whatever. For personalities, one shortcut you might use is the but method. That's but with one T. The idea is that most of what defines an NPC is their job or situation and their attitude. Then, by adding even one element that contrasts this impression, they should stand out as an individual while giving you enough information to roleplay them. If I tell you that you see a soldier guarding the city gates, your life experience and experience with fiction and fantasy all create some sort of immediate ideas of what that soldier is about. If I then add an adjective or describe their pose to indicate how the soldier feels about what he or she is doing, and just at a base level, are they happy, angry, bored, sad? Combined with your first impressions of the NPC's job or situation, your mind will quickly fill in the gaps with assumptions. Just a soldier who looks bored, or a soldier who looks angry, gives you a shocking amount of information, which may be right or completely wrong about the individual, but the players will make those assumptions much as you might in real life, without a whole lot of bulky description on the GM's part. Now, if you want to know how to role-play this soldier, just ask yourself why they feel the way that they do. And by figuring that out, you immediately have a surprisingly rich idea of this character, plenty to work from to help you in answering their questions. The soldier is angry because of the news of a terrorist attack in a nearby town, or moping because this was supposed to be his day off to spend time with his girlfriend. Once you have all that, the last step is the but. It's the little thing that takes this stereotype of a character and makes them an individual, maybe even a little unique. Just come up with one detail, one fact, one motivation, or one simple phrase that is not part of the basic assumptions most of us will have made from the simple description. And that's what helps solidify this character as more than just a cardboard cutout. So our example is a guard at the open city gates, watching the crowd for weapons or suspicious activity, or maybe actively checking papers as they pass through. Maybe she's proud to be serving her nation as a guard, protecting her town, but she's overcome by a sneezing fit. She's probably allergic to the pollen this time of year. Or he's a bored soldier, half propping himself up with his spear, but he's distracted for a moment by a passing farm girl with pretty hair. Or there's a stone-faced, brick-jawed soldier watching sternly over the crowd, his uniform crisp and neat, except for the conspicuous substitution of shorts for the padded leather armor pants worn by other guards. Of course, the point of this exercise is that you can quickly populate an area with a handful of notable individuals like this, or give this kind of characterization to any merchant they do business with, or any random person the party stops to ask a question to, or the impoverished farmer who witnessed some supernatural occurrence. Their role itself contains a lot of default information, further informed by their mood or attitude, and your but helps them to step beyond that role in the player's minds. This method is pretty handy in that it doesn't take too long, only requires one small element of imagination or inspiration per NPC, and lets your and your player's own biases and expectations do most of the work for you. It can save you some time in the planning phase, but it's also simple enough to use on the fly, especially if you have a short list of potential buts on hand for just such an occasion. If you haven't caught on, little categorized lists of names, details, and ideas can be your best friend if you need to improvise, but don't feel like you have too much talent for it. I'm pretty good at improvising smart-ass comments or puns, but for anything else, I could use the help. Again, this is more a strategy for minor to medium importance NPCs, the ones you really can't afford to spend too much time on. You don't want to spend forever developing your important non-player characters either, but rather than borrowing from stereotypes to fill in a lot of the blanks, you probably want to build your major characters as individuals from the ground up, and focus more on their goals and motivations. This is my first Q&A video on NPCs, and I'm sure it won't be the last. Do you have a question about running an RPG campaign or anything else? I'm not really an expert, but if people keep asking, I may just take a stab at it. And check out the drama, humor, and ongoing illustrated story of Tales from My D&D Campaign. If you like this, please click the eponymous button.